Hello everyone, I am Prankur Gupta and today we are going to understand what is constructor in Java. Now first let us see some of the features of constructor. You will get the clear idea what is constructor. Now it helps in initialization of objects. Initialization means it helps in initialization of all the data members that are available in a object. Now name of constructor is always same as that of class name. It means that whatever is the name of the class, a constructor name should be same as that. Now a constructor has no return type, not even as a void. A void is also a return type, so a constructor can not even have a void return type, so it can have no return type. A constructor is automatically called at the time of creation of objects, so we can call a constructor while we are calling creating our object. It will automatically called. Now constructor is generally default or public. It means that only two access modifiers are allowed for constructor, which are default or public. No other access modifiers are allowed. Now let us see with the help of example how a constructor works. Now in till now whatever examples we have done, we have not used any constructor. Then how our variables were getting initialized. I mean, here we have a and b. Now we don't know that the default values of a and b are 0, so if we try to print out that, then it will give us 0 and 0. But how it is assigning the value 0 and 0? Actually what is happen that when we create the object of our class, basically if first compiler checks whether there is any constructor created by the programmer. If there is no constructor, then automatically a default constructor is created by the compiler, in which actually it initialize all the global variables of a class. So basically compiler initialize all the global variables as with their default values. Now we know that the default value of integer is 0 and 0, so basically here it will initialize a and b as 0. So if we try to print out the values of a and b, it will give us 0. So that is how default constructor works. Now let us see if we try to create our own constructor. Now there are two types of constructor: non-parameterized constructor and parameterized constructor. What is non-parameterized constructor? A non-parameterized constructor is which is having no arguments. So basically here is a constructor which same as that of class name and having public access modifier. Here it has no arguments, so it is known as non-parameterized constructor. So here if we try to create the object of our class, then after executing this line, which is creating the object, it will automatically call this constructor and it will initialize all the variables of our class. So here I am creating one object. So if I try to create one more object of this class, then it will again call this constructor and initialize my variables with same values. So there is a problem in non-parameterized constructor. What is that problem? I have to initialize all the variables of my class for different objects with same initial values. It means that if I am creating 2 objects or 3 objects, multiple objects in my class, then I have to initialize all my data members with same values for different objects. Okay, so basically every time I create an object, then this constructor will be called and my variables have to be initialized with same these values 10 and 20. Okay, so I will try to print out this the value of a and b using display function. Then it will print 10 and 20 for first object and 10 and 20 for second object. Now let us see parameterized constructor. Now we can use parameterized constructor if we want to assign different values to our variables for different objects. Now let us see how. Now here what I am doing, basically it is a parameterized constructor which I have passing two arguments c and d. Okay, and where I am assigning the values of c and d to a and b. Okay, now first we have to create our object. Under that I am passing two arguments which are 10 and 20. So basically these arguments will be passed to this constructor and these 10 and 20 will be assigned to a and b. Okay, now here I have created one object. Now let us see if I try to create second object. Now if I am trying to create second object cd2, then this 30 and 40 will be assigned to this a and b. How? Basically while I am creating my first object, it is assigning 10 and 20 to a and b for first object. And if I try to create one more object with different parameters which I am passing 30 and 40, then it will pass 30 and 40 to c and d and it will give 30 and 40 to a and b of second object. Okay, so in this way we can give different values for different objects to initialize with different values. Now here basically if I try to print out the values of first object and second object, then it will print 10 and 20 for first object and 30 and 40 for second object. So basically here I am initializing my variables for different objects with different values. Okay, now let us see constructor overloading, guys. Basically constructor overloading is same as that of method overloading. And what was happening in method overloading, basically we were creating two two methods with same name. So now there were conditions that the signatures must be different. Now here the constructor, we have two constructors in which one have no arguments and second having two arguments. So basically signatures are different, so basically it is satisfying the condition, so it is known as constructor overloading. Now let us see how we can achieve constructor overloading. Now here I am creating first object. Okay, now cd1, which is first object. Now if I try to pass 40 and 50, then it will call this parameterized constructor and it will assign 40 and 50 to a and b of this object. And if I try to call this line, which is cd2, then it will create another object and it will create another object, and also it will call the non-parameterized constructor and assign 10 and 20 to a and b of this object. So it will also, if I try to print out the values of first and second object, then it will print 40 and 50 for first object, which is the values of a and b for first object, and if I try to print the values of a and b for second object, then it will print 10 and 20. Now it is all about constructor overloading. Now guys, I forgot one thing in my previous slide. Let us discuss that. Now here, if we already have a parameterized constructor in our class, then we can't create a object using this statement. Now we already have a constructor, parameterized constructor, then if we try to create object like this, then basically compiler will check whether we have a constructor in our class. Yes, it is. Whether it is parameterized or non-parameterized, it is parameterized, so it will not allow us to create an object like this. Because if there is any parameterized constructor in our class, it will give us a compilation error that you must give some initial values to constructor. So if there is already a parameterized constructor in our class, we can't use this statement. Okay guys, this is all about constructor in Java. I hope guys you like my video. If you like it, then don't forget to follow and share this video. This is my Unacademy profile link. You can follow me from there. Thank you guys.